Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, Wasting Time podcast listeners. And Chris, to you as well.
Thank you, Nick, and to
All
you.
the best. Yeah. Season's greetings.
Here we are again.
It's good to be back after a break.
Yeah, it's been a little while. We haven't put an episode out for a good few weeks. Apologies to our listeners for that. We do have some plans to be more prolific from January onwards.
Prolific.
So, yeah, I think so.
Let's hope so. Yeah, got some more people on board to help us in the new year as well.
We have, which is exciting.
So there should be some new stuff coming around in the not too distant, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. And we want to. So we've been doing this podcast just over 8 years now. So we feel like we're self-proclaimed elder statesmen of the kind of this podcast alternative music scene. So we want to own that a little bit, I think.
Exciting times. Hopefully to see us in.
Yes.
So I guess is it worth just kind of doing a little bit of a look back over the last year?
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
I mean, obviously for me, most people know I've not been very active, and Chris has been kind of leading the way with me becoming a father and trying to navigate my way through that, and time being a challenge as a result. So I don't know if you've got a little bit of a summary of the podcast for 2023 and kind of what your highlights have been, and like your favorite guests.
Yeah, maybe that would be a good thing to start with, I think. So yeah, I've just, as you said, tried to keep the ship going with you being absent for a lot of it. So I've done a lot of solo interviews. I think you were able to jump on a couple. But yeah, there's been some good guests this year. I think an obvious highlight for me, and any regular listeners would probably guess this, but Rishi Bau was one that I particularly enjoyed. Rishi who sings for Eternal Boy and runs the whole Four Chord Festival over in Pennsylvania. It was definitely a pleasure talking to him, because I feel like we just clicked from the top and had similar interests, and he's an awesome guy. I've been in touch with him since, and yeah, I think he's a great guy. So I think I'd have to put him at the top for me, I think. What about yourself in terms of? I mean, it can either be one of the two that you were present for, or one that you heard as an absent co-host to anyone that kind of.
I'm just looking like, yeah, it was Sid from grade 2 and No Offense, wasn't it?
Those were the two you were here for, yeah.
Very different in their own right, but both really interesting episodes. Obviously, No Offense, kind of very different guest for us. Young, newish artist on Hopeless still, I believe. Going on a big journey with his trans kind of stuff as well. So it's really interesting episode, and Sid's just an all-round nice guy, right? Like,
oh yeah, of course,
great to a real hard-working band. So it's kind of really nice to chat to him, I guess. Really, I'm just looking through things. The Alex Melton one was an interesting.
That was
interesting episodes. Bit of a new angle of artists. The whole kind of YouTuber kind of.
Sure.
Covery bandy stuff.
Yeah, he's kind of one of the leaders in that pack, I would say.
Yeah. So yeah, interesting year, and I guess a thank you to you for kind of pushing forward and
of course, man.
Keeping things going. And what about kind of releases then in terms of last year? What's been like the standouts for you?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and it was hard to. I didn't really have an album or two to pinpoint that I absolutely loved. I've got some of the ones that I definitely enjoyed, and I'm still listening to. So that Menzingers album didn't land with me straight away, but once I spent some time with it, I thought,
okay,
I think it's really good. Kind of see what they're going for, and I think it works. I don't know if you've spent much
Yeah,
time with that one?
I mean, not much, but I guess I'm in the camp that you started. I guess really.
Yeah.
So maybe I do need to go back and give it some more time. They are touring
Yeah.
as well, and over here in the it's turn of the new year, aren't they? Like
Yeah.
February time, I think it is. So intending to get to one of those shows. So yeah, it probably deserves a little bit more of a spin before that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you'd dig it if you spent some time with it. Yeah. I feel like it's up your street.
I mean, my favorite release. Yeah, so I guess the one that's kind of stood the test of time, and I've listened to throughout the year is that Trophy Ice record, Suicide and Sunshine. I think it came out in kind of March, April time.
Mhm.
But I mean, it was the one of the few punk alternative bands that was in my Spotify this year. And something I've kind of always gone back to. I think it's just the end to end. It's like a really strong album that kind of goes on a bit of a journey as an album, as in a record, which I just don't think you get much of these days.
Is
Um,
it their best record yet?
well, for me it is, yeah, yeah, and it kind of for me it's quite similar to that Valencia record. That
Oh, right.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
comes from a place of like real grief, but it in itself is like a journey through that grief.
Hmm.
Um, so it's quite deep, but I just think end to end as a record, it's just a bit of a masterpiece.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's a standout for me, I guess,
Okay.
really.
Yeah. I feel like I need to spend more time with it after that description.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure it's your cup of tea, to be honest with you, but hey ho, maybe.
Yeah. Bits of it were a bit heavy for me, I think. There were
Yeah,
some melodies I enjoyed on it, but I didn't really dive into the lyrics or anything like that.
well, it was a bit. Yeah, it's about a friend, a close friend that he lost, basically.
Right.
So,
Okay.
um, so yeah, you probably see some similarities to that kind of that Valencia record, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. Okay. So some more of mine. Youth Fountains album. I was enjoying that. Still am.
Yeah,
I think it's like a step up from his last one. Obviously, a former guest on this show. Blink and MXPX, obviously two huge bands for me. Both had new albums this year. I don't think either record is like top tier for me for both bands, but they're both pretty solid, I would say.
yeah. I mean, the Blink record in itself was just a big release, but just with the whole the story around it, right? And
Sure.
like like a new milestone for the band, wasn't it? And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's a massive release, really. But again, like you say, just don't. I wouldn't say it's a massively strong record end
Yeah,
to
yeah,
end.
yeah. Talking of like big bands in that world, I've recently revisited the All Time Low album that came out in March, which I didn't really
All
listen
right.
to, and I think it's really good. It's really good, really strong kind of pop rock songwriting.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I'd recommend that actually. I think it's pretty solid throughout. I was just listening to it again this morning. And then kind of a little bit more outside of this genre. I don't know, has Zach Ryan come across your radar? It's kind of like more folky Americana kind of singer who's
Mm,
had a huge year. He's quite
no,
popular in the alternative scene.
no.
His album's really impressive.
Cool.
And finally, there's another band more in his kind of lane called L.A. Edwards, um, who are friends with the Lovebreakers. That's how I first knew about them. But they seem to be getting bigger and bigger, and they've got a kind of cool like Americana sort of sound. But it's not a million miles from like Gaslight Anthem and stuff, so it's
Mm.
sort of relevant to our world as well.
Yeah, I guess talking about Gaslight Anthem, they had a new release this year as well, didn't they?
Yeah, what did you
Which,
think of that?
well, I mean, there's a couple of singles they brought out showed a lot of promise, and was quite excited for the record. But for me, they were probably the two strongest songs on the album. Yeah, I think that was a bit disappointing. I think I was expecting especially being away for a little while, expecting something
Yeah.
quite big from them. So that was probably one that was the biggest disappointment, I guess,
Okay. Okay. Well,
of
that can lead us into that.
2023.
So that's your
Yeah,
biggest disappointment, is it?
probably. Yeah, in terms of what the expectation I had for it, especially with
Yeah.
those two singles, which I think History Books is a really good song. What about you? Anything that really let you down?
There was nothing that massively let me down, but I was thinking about this, and one I would say, and I feel bad saying this because it's a great band, and the singer was on this show this year, and she's awesome, great person. So it's Sincere Engineer, because I quite like the two singles in the lead up to the album, and then the album just doesn't do it for me. But I don't know if it's just because they're not quite my kind of music. It's not a bad album, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah,
But lots of people feel differently, and they continue to do really well. So I'm sure Deanna can live with me not loving the album.
yeah, probably.
and and the other one for me was, well, I don't know if this is a disappointment because I don't really like the band anyway, but I always continue to try to like this band because they're really popular. But Hot Mulligan's album, that's
Yeah, I've never
not for
got
me.
into them, to be honest with you.
Are you the
Full
same? Are
stop.
you?
Yeah, there you go. And what about like? I mean, I'm really seeing much in the way of like Christmas releases or covers this year. Have you seen? Actually, I tell a lie. Have you heard a band called Gangs of Youth?
Yes, yeah, Australian
Yeah,
band.
Australian band. They did a bit with
Yeah,
kind of Sam Fender, I think, a couple of years ago.
yeah, yeah.
I quite like them. I really like his voice.
Antonio, who I work with now, he knows them really well. He's done lots of stuff
Oh,
with them. I
nice.
think he went on tour with them as a videographer for them 1 year or something because he's
Right.
Australian as well.
Oh, okay.
But
Cool.
yeah, they're a
Yeah.
very cool band.
Yeah, no, I've listened to them quite a bit over the last couple of year or so, I guess.
Yeah.
They did a little cover of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. I don't know if that's the title of the song, but it's his voice is really, really nice on that.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. Okay, mate, that covers releases. There was a couple of other things we wanted to talk about. I think you mentioned kind of, I mean, we're at the point of the year where on the podcast we're looking ahead to festivals next summer, and because we did 2000 Trees last year, we're looking at what we can possibly cover and do some field interviews and stuff. So we're kind of in that mindset. So with that in mind, you kind of said, you posed the question, who would we want kind of dream festival lineups? I think what did you want? You want us to pick two headliners?
Couple of headliners, couple of like, middle kind of stalwarts of
Yeah.
like, you know, the scene and bands, and then like
Yeah.
one or two maybe that are flying under the radar. Like, although you'll probably have a bit more insight on that because my up and coming under the radar stuff, my insight's not great at the moment on that front. So yeah, who are you putting on like to open then in terms of like an up and coming artist, like to open the main stage?
So I've got one band here, and they're a funny one. Their name's been around to me the last few years, and lots of people I know love them. Like they're really popular, like on the subreddits and stuff. And I know I mentioned Rishi at the top of this podcast, and he's been playing some shows with them. He loves them, and I thought I'm going to give them another go because like I didn't like them to start with. So a band called Driveways, and
Okay.
their earlier stuff from like 3 years ago or whatever, it was just it was blending like pop punk and metal too much, and I feel like this has been done before, and I feel like it's a bit dated. And they're still doing that a little bit because I went to listen to a release they put out in October or something, but it is actually really good. Even the stuff with the metally bits I was enjoying, but they have a couple of like just straight pop punk songs, and it's really well crafted and really well done. I think you'd like them if you check them out and listen to the most recent EP they've done.
Okay.
So that, yeah,
Driveways.
Driveways. So they were an obvious one for me for that kind of slot.
Where are they from?
Oh, they're from Boston.
Fair enough. I'm just gonna have to go with what I know though, really, in terms of
Sure.
under the radar kind of up and coming bands. Um, stick Grade Two on there. Plenty of energy.
Yeah.
Get definitely get the crowd going. Great
Yep.
live band. Good guys.
Yep.
Um, so there you go.
That's fair.
Give and a shout out to those guys as well, I guess, really,
Yeah.
for being good guests and
Definitely friends of the show.
nice
I think
blokes.
it's fair to say.
Okay, then kind of stalwarts then in terms of who's in that kind of middle pre-headliner section.
Yeah, that's a good one. I might put Gaslight Anthem in there, just because I haven't seen them live for ages.
Would they not be headline status?
Oh, they are headline status. Oh, so I misunderstood. I thought this is in my festival and I get to decide who's
Oh well, you
okay.
can, yeah, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
might be pissed off you haven't put them on a set.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, all right. Let me change that then. I'll do it according to who would be kind of mid. So maybe some classics like MXPX and the Wonder Years. I know I saw the Wonder Years this year at 2000 Trees, but they were so good. So I'm happy to stick both those artists in that slot, I think. What about you?
Fair enough. Yeah, I think MXPX need to be in the mix. The Get Up Kids as well for me.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I just love seeing those guys live. And one band I never got to see back in the day who were, and I don't know if they'd be eligible based on their like band status, but I would love to see Midtown.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Live.
You never saw Midtown when they were like in their prime, really?
Never saw Midtown. So yeah, they'd definitely be in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've upset Gaslight Anthem because you put them on earlier in the day. Who took their spot at like?
Yeah. I've got two headliners. So I'm kind of, I guess what I'm doing is a festival, a bit like Rishi's, where it's like 2 days and like two slight. So I'm gonna make you guess them, but I'm gonna say, so I'm doing what Rishi does. So I've got a pop punk day and I've got a kind of more punk rock and roll day. So you know me. Who are my two headliners per day?
Blink.
No,
Good Charlotte.
Good Charlotte are doing the pop punk day.
Social Distortion.
Yeah, there we go. You know it. Those are my two headliners.
Cool. I mean, I've kind of gone a little bit on the same theory in terms of like something a little bit different. So I went with Rancid and Bleachers.
Oh, okay.
Just for something different. I've never seen those guys live. Would love to see them live.
You've never seen Bleachers or Rancid?
I've seen Rancid. Never seen Bleachers.
I was going to say, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I've never seen Bleachers. They are actually coming to the UK next year.
Yeah, I
sold out already, but
I saw because I have seen Bleachers a couple of times, but not for years. And I saw that tour, and I was like, I'll get tickets. But I slept on it, and even though they're doing 2 dates at the Forum in London, they both sold out really quickly.
I saw them doing like Glasgow Barrowlands as well, and Barrowlands is like a venue I've never been to, but would love to go to. So
yeah,
I don't know, maybe see if there's tickets floating around near the time.
Mm-hmm. But they're good. Two solid choices, both two excellent live bands.
Yeah, cool. I guess anything else in like 2024 that you'd love to see? Maybe like a band you'd love to see get back together, a reunion.
Well,
because that's like a big thing these days, isn't it?
It is. Well, let's come to that in a second, because there was another band we want to see like a more active band I'd want to see live in 2024, and I'd love to see Sum 41 before they go out.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so I might try and catch them when they inevitably come via the UK.
Fair enough. Do you think they'll do it? Have they cited any sort of like?
I haven't really looked. I'm sure. If they haven't, I'm sure they will, because like 2024 is their big final year.
Yeah,
got the new album coming out in March, and then big kind of farewell tour. And hopefully, we'll have Dave back on the show at some point around that as well.
Cool. Nice. Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. What about you? Before we get into like reunions and stuff? Any bands you'd really like to see next year?
I mean, I've got a ticket for Movie Life next year, which
Oh yes, yeah,
specifically they're touring 40 Hour Train Back to Penn, which is like one of my like favorite albums. Not just of Movie Life, just in general, I guess, really.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it was a no-brainer for me to pencil that in, given that it was like a tour of that album. I've always wanted to see Tiger's Jaws. Caught them a little bit at Slam Dunk briefly one year, but was pulled away from. I can't remember. There was another band on that I wanted to see, but I've always liked Tiger's Jaw. I know Hot Rod Circuit are active again a little bit in the US. I don't think they'll ever get to the UK because I don't think it's that big of a thing for them. They're just doing odd bits, but you know how much I love that Sorry About Tomorrow record.
Yeah.
I tell you what I did see the other day, and it would be amazing if that got the UK. Bad Religion and Social D are doing a massive US tour together.
Yeah, that's great, and that's great, particularly with Mike Ness. Obviously had cancer this year, so it's exciting to see him coming back.
That's a fucking cool co-headline, like touring it, right? If that got to the UK, like we'd have to make an effort to get to that one.
Yeah, of course.
But we'll see. I was going to say, what about reunions and collabs you'd like to see? Maybe
two reunions I've got down here that I'd love to see. That I see no evidence of either happening anytime soon. Do you want to, like, knowing me as well as you do, you guessed my two headliners. Do you want to guess my two reunions?
Well, I wonder if I try and guess one of your reunions, I spoil my own.
Oh, okay.
Is that likely?
It's a very good chance. I'll just say what they are, though, because I know what the crossover. So the one that might not be a crossover with yours is Quiet Drive. Love to see Quiet Drive out playing shows. That hasn't happened for a few years now. So, and then the other one is Over It.
Oh, right. Okay. Cool. Well, they're not aligned.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And yeah, I echo the Over It one. That would be cool. The one for me was like seeing like the original Mest lineup get back together.
Oh yeah. I didn't even think of that.
And original Mest lineup touring Destination Unknown.
Oh, can you imagine that?
Like that would be fucking cool, wouldn't it?
I don't know if you saw, but Tony and the Mest social media accounts yesterday put a thing saying Destination Unknown kind of dot. And some fans might have been hoping for exactly what you described, but what it was is they're doing a merch drop of like Destination Unknown related stuff, designs from that era.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, that would be so cool.
Yeah, no, but Over It would be cool, but unlikely given we can't get Pete on this podcast.
I know.
They do well to get a full band back together if you can't make a podcast.
Yeah. There was talk that Peter was doing this show with us today, but we were unable to get it together, unfortunately.
Fair enough. What any collabs you'd like to see, like dream collabs?
What have I got here? Oh yeah. So one I would still like to see is Casey Musgraves and New Found Glory, and the reason I put that is when New Found Glory did their Resurrection album, Cyrus did say that they wanted to have Casey Musgraves on the song, but then that was when Hayley Williams was with Chad Gilbert still, and she was like, "Oh, I'd like to be on that song," so they just went with her. But it was originally supposed to be Casey Musgraves, which I think would be a much cooler, interesting collaboration. So I'd like to see that one day, maybe. What about you?
I mean, I've gone like a bit bigger, really, on the scale, but keeping it close to home and local.
Oh yeah, someone with a guitar surname, maybe.
My boy Sam Fender, and it's essentially his. I'm sure it's his dream collaboration. Is that Fender Springsteen get together? Yeah. I just think it's I think Sam clearly takes inspiration from Springsteen. Got some similar style, likes his brass like behind him as well. like, yeah, for them to do something together would I think make me and Sam, I'm sure, very, very, very happy. But yeah, not many signs of Sam doing anything at the moment, to be honest with you.
Is he kind of taking a step back from music at the minute?
Yeah. I'm not sure if he's, in a particularly great place at the moment. I think he's just focusing on his health and
fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what the new year brings, I guess, really. But he's been very, very quiet. So yeah, fingers crossed he's all good and comes back stronger. So that's all I had for
Oh, that's not bad. That's something to be getting on with. I think another thing you mentioned was if we could have returning guests on the show next year.
Oh yes,
who would be some contenders for that? I think there'll definitely be some. If we both, I think let's fire out a couple, 2 or 3 each. There will definitely be some crossover here.
Well, let's just start off by saying Peter fucking Munters, just because he's like promised to come back on, and we're struggling to nail him down. So there you go.
Yeah, Peter
straight off the bat.
Yeah, and Peter is a friend of ours, and that's something that needs to happen definitely.
But I think the one we probably both share is that Max Collins.
Of course.
I guess E6 probably one we should have mentioned earlier in terms of like reunion, like to see those guys get back together and do some. And I know he's doing stuff. He's releasing music. But it's not going on Spotify. It's going through
it's Patreon,
like Patreon channel. Yeah, Patreon channels. Like it would be great just to see them do something like bigger scale, like tour. Like that would be fucking cool. But come back on the podcast as well.
Yeah, and that's another band that neither of us saw when they were more active.
Yeah.
But yeah. I know our listeners might get bored of us saying this because every time he comes up, we sing his praises. But he's such a funny, articulate, interesting guy. I don't know if you've read any of his, because some of his Patreon stuff is free, and you just read his diaries of it's so engaging and so entertaining and well written. So yeah. So he'd be an obvious one.
He's a good
love
guy.
to be on the show again.
Yeah, and I guess Brown Sound would be good to get him back on, especially with things wrapping up a little bit with Sum 41. It'd be good to have a chat. One of the friendliest people I think we've spoken to.
Definitely.
Super nice guy.
I think also Mike Herrera would be a good returning guest because Mike's always, he's very easy to talk to, always has interesting things to say. And also, Mike was on this show back in 2016, like long before you joined. And I just feel it'd be nice for us to have one where you get a chance to be with him as well. Because, obviously MXPX are a big band for us both,
Yeah, that'd be cool. Nice. Well, we can scratch away at those opportunities, I guess.
Yeah.
And get to work on some bigger guests. But I guess if any of our listeners have any ideas for guests, we can. We're more than happy to try and work away at some of those.
Exactly. Yeah. Please, listeners, reach out to us anytime. I'm sure you know where we are on social media, and also the Wasting Time podcast at gmail.com. Hit us up there anytime. We love hearing from you all.
Cool. And with that, should we just wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year?
Yeah. Enjoy the holidays, whatever it is you celebrate, and we'll see you early in the new year. We've got lots of things planned, so we're hoping this will be a big year for our show.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Okay, bye everyone.